What's up, guys? This is Ray. Today we'll be talking about the 2019 Japanese movie Ni no Kuni, which is an adaptation of the hit JRPG series of the same name. Well, it's not so much an adaptation as it is another story, another entry into the canon of the Ni no Kuni series. But before we get started into this review, if you are new to Eiga-Man Ray, I upload movie reviews of Japanese movies every chance I get. Not every day, but every chance I get. So if you're new to the channel, feel free to leave a like on this video, and of course, I would love it if you subscribe. But anyways, yes, Ni no Kuni. This anime movie is directed by Momose Yoshiyuki, who I believe was a character designer on the original game, so it's nice to have a familiar face directing this adaptation. And in addition to Momose, starring in Ni no Kuni is Yamazaki Kento, Arata Mackenyu, and Nagano Mei. And, you know, when they first announced this movie, I was genuinely excited for it. I loved the original games. I played and completed the original Ni no Kuni. I haven't really completed the second game I started, but I just haven't finished it. But I absolutely adored the first game, and I think the main reason I loved it is because how much the game feels like a Studio Ghibli movie. And if you guys didn't know, the animated scenes of the original game were actually animated by Studio Ghibli, and you know, you had the character designs by Momose, who I believe is also a Studio Ghibli staff member. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong with that. But yeah, basically this was like a Studio Ghibli inspired RPG, and that's one of the main reasons I love the original game. And you know, this movie is not animated or produced by Studio Ghibli, disappointingly, but it does have some familiar faces behind the production. You know, one of them is obviously the director. Another is the guy who composed the music, Hisaishi Joe, who not only composed the original soundtrack of the first game, but also pretty much all the music of the Studio Ghibli movies you love. So the story of Ni no Kuni, it follows more closely the themes present in the first movie. It's about these two best friends. You had Yu, who is voiced by Yamazaki Kento, and you have Haru, who's voiced by Arata Mackenyu. They've been best friends since they were very young. They also have a female friend by the name of Kotona, who's played by Nagano Mei. And one day, Kotona's life gets put in danger, and the boys, they try to save her life. And as their own lives get put in danger, they find themselves plunged, Alice in Wonderland style, into the world of Ni no Kuni. And it is there that they meet the king and his daughter, Princess Asha. And Asha looks exactly like Kotona. You know, just a little bit trivia out there. Ichi no Kuni is what they call the main world. Ichi means one, so basically the main world, the real world. Ni no Kuni is usually used not only in this story, but also in other stories to kind of describe another world, like the second world. That Ni means two. Yeah, that's where the title of this story takes its idea from. But the main characters learn that there are people present in Ni no Kuni that look strikingly similar to people they know in Ichi no Kuni. They also learn that things that they do in one world have a bit of an effect in their own world, and vice versa. And because when they meet Princess Asha for the first time, her life is in danger pretty much the same way as Kotona's life is in danger too. And as the story goes along, they get sucked into the middle of a war. I don't want to go too deep into the story. I mean, if you watch the trailer, it does give a little bit of information, a lot of which people may consider spoilers, but I'll just leave the story there. So when it comes to the positives of Ni no Kuni, you know, first of all, the music is excellent. I think any score composed by Hisaishi Joe just has some magic into it, and you know that the soundtrack of this movie is no exception. The music is fantastic. The character design is pretty cool, although I do think it doesn't live up to par to what is featured in the games. But you do get a sense that, you know, this is a very different world. You definitely get that Alice in Wonderland kind of vibe, because not only are humans walking around Ni no Kuni, but they're also beastmen guys who are basically like half animal and half human, or just humanoid animals, if you will, and they ride on dinosaurs. You know, and there's a lot of just creatures wandering around. And yeah, you know, you definitely get a feel that this is a different magical world. Some of the action scenes were pretty cool. And, you know, to be honest, yeah, I think that was it for the things I enjoyed about Ni no Kuni. I was a bit disappointed with it. I mean, as a huge fan of the games, this had a lot of expectations for me, because, I mean, it had Studio Ghibli producing the original game. You know, of course, this movie wasn't produced by Studio Ghibli, as I mentioned, but you know, it had a name to live up to. And you know, let me get started with the negatives. You know, I'll start first about the negatives that fault this movie as a standalone movie, not really comparing it to the games. That's a different set of negatives. But with the animation quality, I felt the animation quality was a bit lower compared to what you would expect from a feature film, a feature anime film. I felt the animation quality felt like the same kind of quality you can expect from an extended TV episode. I don't know, it just didn't seem up to par with its animation quality. I don't know. Also, the story is pretty paint by numbers. I mean, you pretty much knew who the bad guy was going to be when you first meet a character who's very bad guyish. I mean, it was pretty obvious from when you first met him. You know, part of the story is the mystery of trying to find out who the identity of the bad guy, because he's kind of like this guy that gets introduced about 60% into the movie. He gets actually as the bad guy, he gets introduced pretty late. You get to meet him somewhere earlier in the story, but as in the form of the bad guy, he comes in later. So you don't get that build up. You know someone's coming, you know something's coming, but you don't get that build up to his introduction. So kind of when he gets introduced, it kind of falls flat. Plot points were just predictable, and the way the characters grew, like the character development, felt very rushed and just very like unnecessarily dynamic, if you will. Like it kind of goes from here at a nice steady pace, and suddenly like the intentions of one of the characters kind of jumps over here, kind of into extreme depths, if you will, like with his intentions and with his goals, and it felt very rushed. Like you can kind of see why he would eventually turn to this path, but you don't really feel like it was earned. It was just kind of this kind of decision felt like it was made that way just for the sake of progressing the story and creating that dramatic tension. I don't want to say who. I mean, I guess you can kind of figure out who I'm talking to if you watch the trailers, but yeah, I don't know. It just felt very rushed in some of these character-driven moments. And also, as actors, I do genuinely enjoy watching Yamazaki Kento, Arata Mackenyu, and Nagano Mei in the roles. But I feel like as voice actors, there's something missing. This isn't, I think generally speaking, when it comes to having actual film actors voice roles in animated features, it's a hit or miss. I feel like they don't emote enough when needed to, and for the most part, the performance comes off as dry and or loud and dry. I don't know. There was just something missing. It felt like they didn't emote the way that usual animated voice actors would, and I feel that was a big miss. For the most part, I felt kind of bored by the voice performance. Like I said, I generally like these three actors in their live action roles, just not in this one. And as much as I like the whole kind of Alice in Wonderland kind of setup and the setup they brought over from the game, whereas if something that you may do in one world might have an effect on the people involved in the other world, they brought that over, and it was nice for the most part. I just wish that they did a little more with it. They only really show the effects of like 2, maybe 3 characters, and how it affected their soulmates in the other world. I wish they would have done more with it. It was one of the very interesting plot points in the original game. But overall, what did I think of Ni no Kuni? Yeah, as you can tell, I was disappointed. And as a standalone anime movie, I think it might have been okay. I think if you would have never played any of the games at all, you might have some kind of good experience with it, but it does feel like a paint by the numbers Alice in Wonderland kind of fantasy story. And if you didn't have the name Ni no Kuni behind it, I think it would just get lost in the crowd, basically. And as a game adaptation, there were a lot of elements from the game series that were just brought over as Easter eggs, and they didn't really go full ham with it. Like, for example, one of the most fun elements from the first game was the ability to recruit familiars to fight alongside with you. They have no familiars in the story, and not even the guys from the second game. They didn't bring any of those guys over. I mean, you do have a bunch of fun Easter eggs, including a character from one of the games that pops out, and I thought generally that was probably the biggest pop for me. The way this character was brought into the story, I thought it was probably the best part. But I'd say if you're a fan of the games, don't go into this movie expecting a true done to justice kind of adaptation with this movie. I think you'll be very disappointed if you do. Even if you're a fan of fantasy stories and Alice in Wonderland kind of stories, it's only okay. I'd say it's only okay. It could have done a lot more with that kind of setup, but I felt it just didn't do enough. But yes, anyways, those are my thoughts on Ni no Kuni, the anime movie. And if you guys are asking, I did watch it in the movie theater. Don't ask me how you can watch it online because I'm not going to answer you. But yes, let me know what you guys' thoughts are in the comment section below. Hell, if you have any questions, throw down a comment and I'll do my best to answer. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and also subscribe to my channel if you're new here. And by all means, please follow me on all the social media channels. You can see links in the description area below. And yeah, that's about it for me, guys. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope to catch you all again in the next video. Take it easy.